All right, I'm here. Denim's been taken care of, so we don't need to worry about anything else. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I highly apologize for being late. I know I can get quite busy sometimes here, and I just got home, so I only had like a good couple of minutes to get here, feed the boys, bring them outside, and then get myself set up. But I'm making excuses. It's time for more One Piece, ladies and germs. Thank you for being patient with me. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Yo, peoples. Wait, let me make, yeah, my mic is on. My mic is on. Yo, peoples. Welcome back to more One Piece. What we had in the last chapter, after we went, before we went on break, because apparently we're going on another break again, which means that over the course of this whole month, we're only going to have the first month of 2026 basically just brings us 2 chapters of One Piece. So I find that interesting. But it's good to see you, Kohagen. Good to see you, Mr. V. Good to see you, Ogata. It's good to see everyone here today. I hope your days have been good. Let me make sure that chat is good over on my side of things. Let's go. Am I on time? Ozzy, you made it perfectly on time because I haven't started the chapter yet. You are here on time. Proud of you. I wonder how long it's going to take CDs to get here. Just saying. But it's good to see you all. Let's begin. Because in the last chapter, we basically saw the end of Harold. We've basically witnessed an immortal being being destroyed. We find out that Ragnir is actually the result of a chipmunk, well, I want to say a chipmunk eating a hammer fruit or a hammer eating a chipmunk fruit, which seems to be more in line with how inanimate objects sort of get their hands on devil fruits and somehow imbue themselves with devil fruit powers. We still don't know how that process works, but a hammer, big giant hammer, eating a chipmunk fruit, allowing it to turn into basically a chipmunk. No, sorry, not a chipmunk, a squirrel. It's a squirrel. It's a squirrel. A hammer that can turn into a squirrel. It acknowledges Loki. Loki eats this forbidden devil fruit. We still don't know what type it is, but he uses it to basically make his way back to Harold, messes up Harold, despite the fact that Harold is basically immortal. And while he still has his thoughts together, has Loki kill him, much to Loki's devastation. And we see him use Ragnir to basically call down lightning, also imbuing the hammer with conquerors, because now we know that Loki is yet another individual and one of 2 giants we have witnessed that has conqueror's haki, uses it to basically blast Harold's body to pieces. Because Harold sees Loki and Harudin as Elbaf's future. So let's see what happens in chapter 1171, Ragnir. I couldn't even say that fully. Ragnir. Reader requests Zoro being given a cat ear headband by a cat. And it just shows Zoro tending to his sword while a cat just basically gives him cat ears. A cat ear headband. This is going to spawn some fan art, I just know it. And we cut back to the aftermath of Alres Castle, as basically Gavin is still in there. And when I say aftermath, I mean literal minutes after. But Gavin is speaking. I had a terrible vision, plain as day, of Harold venturing forth from this castle and laying waste to the world until it was nothing but ruins. It's hard to imagine, with the way his wounds healed themselves, that there was actually a means to stop him. And while he's saying this, we see the ruins of Alres Castle, as it was when essentially Harold was devastating and killing all of his own men. Those same ruins we saw chapters ago, where it was just nothing but old, decrepit ruins. We now see the literal minutes of these ruins, as they would later be seen by Luffy and everyone else when Rodo took them there. And we see all of his guards killed, including the room where all those bones of giants were. So we see that same exact room that Luffy and company came across. It's hard to imagine, with the way his wounds healed themselves, that there was actually a means to stop him. And mind you, this is Jarl speaking and walking with Shanks and Gabin. Does the treasure of Elbaf really have such power? Jarl? And then Jarl speaks. Not that I've heard, but it chills my spine to think of what might have happened had Loki not been here. And Shanks is thinking back to when Harold and he were having a discussion. Once I am in the Knights of Gold, dawn will come to Elbaf. And then we cut to Garling, who's apparently speaking to Shanks from his perspective. Speak your desire, and whatever it is, you shall have it. You've been so deprived, my poor son. And Shanks is holding on to his arm, the one that has the mark on it, the left arm, the arm that he would give away to the future. Those miserable peons are not people. Forget what happened in the lower world. And Shanks is gripping tightly onto his arm. Shanks! Hey, Shanks! And the thing is, Shanks is trying to forcibly rip his arm off. Like he's gripping onto it and he's trying to pull it off. No, and Gabin is trying to stop it. No, stop it! That's your bad habit again. Don't you dare regret your birth. But why did Harold have to die? He was too pure-hearted to deserve that. If only I'd... It's not your fault and you know it. You still have a role to play, Shanks. I guarantee it. Everyone's life has meaning, but you have to keep a level head. This is what he gets. This is what he gets for loving his country. And it shows in the midst of the flames that's basically enveloping the main throne room. Loki is sitting there in front of his father, with Ragnar right behind him, bawling his eyes out. No, wait, sorry. This is Loki saying, this is what he gets for loving his country. It's a cruel joke. And Loki is still crying because he was crying when he killed Harold. And mind you, this is a panel that takes almost half of the other page. And it just shows Harold's body laying there, but it's covered by his cloak. His body is covered by his cloak, and it's just a massive pool of blood where his body is, signifying that Harold is well and truly dead. Like, it's an immense amount of blood underneath Harold's body. And then Emu. Oh my god, Emu! We cut away from Harold and immediately go to Marijwa! We immediately go to Marijwa and Emu is speaking! That was an exceedingly rare ancient giant warrior, given even greater power and an immortal body. That was nothing short of a monster, and thou sayest it was killed? By whom? What is in Elbaf? And then the Gorosei are speaking to Emu. We still have it investigated. Harold's Abyss in Elbaf remains intact. Enough! It will only be the death of more knights. Performing the covenant inflicts a cost upon Mu as well. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? There are drawbacks? There are drawbacks for Emu putting covenants on people? 'Cause Emu's huffing and puffing. What? It will only be the death of more knights. Performing the covenant inflicts a cost upon Mu as well. And Emu is breathing heavily. Harold chose to debase himself before humankind, to connect his country to other lands and peoples. This made him a heretic. His are a tribe of warriors, whose every drop of blood calls out for battle. Carelessly incorporating them into the government will lead to internal collapse. An ancient giant king of Elbaf who agrees to the covenant is a gift to Mu, the likes of which shall not be seen again. He was a king that Elbaf never should have had, and see what came of it. History does not lie. Our kinds are incompatible. Never forget that Elbaf is D. What? Elbaf is D? I'm sorry, what? Elbaf is D? What does that mean? Elbaf is D? Let me sit down. I done stood up twice. Never forget that Elbaf is D. And of course we cut away from this. Of course we don't get an explanation. Of course! But we go back to Elbaf, and we have Loki speaking to basically everyone who was present. Loki, this news will lead to great unrest in the kingdom. And then Loki goes, I'm going out to see Grumps. I'll take all the surviving gods with me. And what of Harald's wishes? Tell the people of Elbaf exactly what happened here. You know I can't tell them. Listen closely. Don't speak a word of what happened here to anyone. And this is Loki saying this to everybody. Then Jarl. Do you understand who they'll blame for it? How's that any different from usual? Do you really see a future where I become king and carry on my old man's ideals? But there are other ways. I can live up to him. I'll take the powers I have and go avenge my dad and his soldiers. This dude wants to throw hands. He wants to throw hands with the very people that drove his father to do this and become this. Loki has it in for everyone in Marijois. Now you're talking nonsense, Loki. The world government is a colossal organization. It's a task far beyond anything you can imagine. And it's just Gavin and Shanks being silent. Ah! The flashback is over! The flashback is over! The flashback is over! We're out of the flashback! We're in the present. 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 But before we leave this, we cut to Ares Castle, and there are people screaming, going, "A disaster! Terrible misfortune! Ares Castle has been attacked! Your Majesty!" And then we see Ares Castle in the present. And then we go back to the underworld, and Loki continues. So, I sailed right off the island. I'm sure that by the time you return home, Harudin, I had been fully transformed into Loki, the father slayer in the public's eye. I certainly did enough to convince them I was capable of it. However, I'm not so far gone that I'd celebrate killing my own dad! I just didn't want everything he did to be undone because of what happened in the end. Or do you still think I should have told the country everything? And mind you, Harudin is still standing there while Luffy's listening on. And Harudin hasn't said anything. Then Gavin, old Mr. Ya chimes in. It's all true, Harudin. Do you get it now? I didn't want to have to dredge this all back up. I now understand why Chief Jarl argued the foot. This is Harudin going, I now understand why Chief Jarl argued for your clemency and continued to protect you. In short, Father chose death over the manipulations of the world government. And ever since then,
The government has been Elbaf's enemy. How did they manipulate him like that?
Then Gavin.
As a matter of fact, these newly arrived Holy Knights of God played a pivotal role in Harold's story. But Loki still doesn't know exactly what happened to Harold in the Holy Land. If you need more details, I can explain.
And then Harudin goes,
That won't be necessary for now, Mr. Yah. I don't need a reason to protect my homeland.
As it cuts to the panels of Gerd, Rodo, Stanzen, Harudin, and Goldberg, along with Zoro and Sanji. And the last chain that is binding Loki is off. Because Harudin took it off.
If we see eye to eye about anything, Loki, it's love for our father. Allow me to apologize for that, if nothing else. Now, fight with me, for Elbaf's sake!
And Loki's just looking at his hand after he's been freed. And then Luffy goes, and this is the first time we've heard from Luffy in so many chapters. Yeah, way to go, Loki! Now you can fight! And then it shows someone screaming, and someone falls. Someone falls into the underworld. And they look bigger than Loki. The demons have made it. Whatever fell from the sun world into the underworld looks way bigger than Loki. Ooh, if this is Dorian Broggy. If this is Dorian Broggy. But everyone's looking at what just fell down there. Nope, it's one of the sleep tids. It's the undead sleep tid. And people are screaming, ah! That's it. That's what's raging up above. There's a whole bunch of them! Because remember, Chopper's still down here.
Where'd it come from? Is that a Draugr? But those aren't real.
And then Loki.
Sounds like the perfect warm-up. You go on ahead. I can fly up.
We're not glossing over what you just said. Excuse me? What do you mean you can fly up? What? What mythical Zoan are you? Because he's gotta be. Loki just said, don't you go on ahead, I can fly up. Loki just said he could fly. What mythical Zoan is he?
Sounds like the perfect warm-up. You go on ahead, I can fly up.
And then Luffy, what is that thing?
What's going on up there?
And all of Harudin's crew is telling them, make a this is Goldberg. Make it snappy, Harudin. Hey, Loki! We used to think you were a real bastard who killed his own father. Sorry about that. This is Harudin and his entire crew saying this. Hey, Loki! We used to think you were a real bastard who killed his own father. Sorry about that. And they go up on the elevator to go back up.
But only for this one thing. All of your many other crimes still count.
Just shut up and go. No one asked you to say all that.
This is amazing. I can move again. I'm free.
Loki is completely free, and Luffy's laughing. But all of a sudden, Chopper is completely enamored is completely frozen stiff by seeing this giant sleep-tid Draugr. And Gavin notices and he goes,
Hey, ship doctor, I appreciate your help here, but I'm concerned about my son.
Oh, right, sure.
And then Sanji, using Skywalk, takes Gavin and Chopper and just starts, flying into the air.
Nice and gentle, Sanji.
Yeah, I know. Weren't you going to stay here?
And then Luffy is still chilling with Loki.
What are you doing up here?
I want to see how you fight.
Alright then, show off your power. Ragnir!
And then Loki jumps up in the air with Ragnir, launching towards the Draugr. And then something starts to happen to the hammer,
Nibelheim!
and Loki hits the Draugr and instantly flash freezes it. And Luffy's all like, what? And that's the end of the chapter. We got things to talk about. We got things to talk about. I got out of my chair. We got things to talk about with this chapter. A lot of things are revealed. Apparently, like learning that the manner of which Harold died, his body is just a bloody mess on the floor, because we know that his body has been completely and utterly decimated. It's not like his whole upper body's just there and it's bleeding out. No, his body is in literal pieces, that to the point where they had to cover up his up. That's how badly Harold was destroyed. His whole upper body was obliterated, and then it just bled out. Too gruesome to be seen that they covered it up with his cape. His body was completely dismembered. So we learned that he's completely dead. Not only that, but Loki's like, oh my goodness, this was a good chapter. This was a good chapter. There's oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so happy to be alive today. I really am to react to this. So many things taken care of and handled. The flashback is over. Let's just say that. We are out of the flashback completely. And now we're in the present. Loki's been unchained, and he's already ready to fight. He don't have his helmet on right now. He's just going without it, letting his horns protrude out and everything. And apparently, Ragnir is capable of flash freezing stuff. But there's things. It was a fast read because it was such a good chapter. It feels like it was a bit of a fast read. How long did it take me to go through that? 23 minutes? Yeah. It felt like a bit of a fast read because it was really a good chapter. It was a really good chapter. Now. Let me see here. So I always go through chat to see what you guys have said. Also, Ravi said, by the way, have you discussed the live action teasers and trailers? I have not discussed them, but I have seen it. I did not record my reaction to it. Sorry if I didn't have that up, but I watched it and I wanted to stop, but I couldn't stop. Everybody looks amazing in there. Especially the actress who's going to be Nico Robin. Oh, she looks fantastic. And also seeing the glimpses of her devil fruit power being used against some Navy soldiers as well. I think that was quite well done as well. I am so hyped for the live action season 2 of One Piece. I am so looking forward to it. Also, Subject, it's good to see you as well. Haven't been back here for a while. You moved? Oh, congratulations on the move. I hope it went smoothly for you. I hope it was smooth and stress-free. But welcome back. It's good to see you again. I hope to see you again in the next thing I do, because we've got quite a bit to do. Let's see. Emu Shook, Harold's dead. Figureland Goofball. That's literally his name now. Frauderland Goofball. Emu was more introspective and capable of admitting limits than I ever would have expected of them. It's more humility than most Celestial Dragons show. Yeah, which is so weird. Emu acknowledged that there are limits to their power. Acknowledging mistakes. Acknowledging that someone like Harold may not ever show up ever again. But the thing that got me was the fact that they said that Elbaf is D. That messed me up. Elbaf is D? Elbaf is D. That explains why Walkyrie says like we have a long-standing grievance with your kind. When Dory and Broggy were going up against Walkyrie and Egghead, is that what Emu means? That's the long-standing grievance? Because the entire nation is D? All of Giant Kind? We have a problem, an issue with your kind. We have had a long-standing issue with your kind. Is that the reason? Because Elbaf is D? Let's see. Good. Emu isn't as invincible as we thought they was. So you defeat all of the God Knights. You can defeat Emu. It's Horcruxes all over again. Seriously. If Elbaf is D, what about Rox? He was D too. Yes, that's true. But we don't know by which Elbaf is D. We don't know the specifics because we don't even know Elbaf's earliest history. We only know as far back as Harold's time, and even then, we only know of Elbaf's history thanks to the mural that shows the history of the world itself. That's as far as we know. We don't know the specifics of this. Seems like Emu only acknowledged the true D. Other D seems like just inherited will rather than bloodline. Yes, and business is about to pick up. No wonder we're going on another break. Oda is about to cook. Oh my god, is that Monkey D. Luffy one of the 4 emperors? Haven't seen him for a while. Is that a new character? Thank god Oda still remembers how to draw him. It hasn't been that long. I'm pretty sure, because I feel like Oda's been... I imagine Oda would never forget how to draw some of his most important characters, including his main one. I don't think that would be an issue. You can really... This arc has 40 chapters, and 20 of them are flashbacks, and it's been 7 months since we have seen the main crew, especially Luffy. I knew someone was going to count down how long it's been since we've seen the main Straw Hat crew. The fact that we are officially done with the flashback means that we are about to get some incredibly cooked up One Piece chapters. Telling you right now, you can really tell that when we are away from the Straw Hats this long, he is ready for the Void Century flashback because this Loki Herald Rocks flashback is so long. Exactly. Theory. Loki has the mythical Veldurfolnir. Ooh. Veldurfolnir. Or Veldurfolnir. Veldurfolnir. Yeah, Veldurfolnir. Wow, I never heard of that. Has the mythical Veldurfolnir fruit. The shape of the bird in the old art looks similar to Loki's beast from the silhouette. Does it really? Luffy is just like us, wanting to see Loki fight. Seems like 7 months to us is like 3 minutes to them. Can you try to recite the whole flashback in 3 minutes? Nope. Crazy long flashback is 3 minutes. You include rocks in it, and it was a fast read because it was such a good chapter. Harold was an anomaly. Even Emu surprised how naive he was. They rejected Harold's request to join the world government all these times because they were cautious. Such chances will never appear again. They were cautious because they felt that if the giants were included, they could cause internal problems. If they joined with the world government with their ideologies and their ideals and how they treat people, especially with Harold at the helm, it would cause problems and ruin things for the world governments for those who rule on top. Harold's ideals and ideologies were a threat to the world government because if he was allowed in, he would have caused unrest. One thing they didn't explain, how did they decide to chain Loki? Sure, Loki didn't want to tell about Harold's death, but they could have invented some story and not put the blame on Loki. They could have. I hope Oda doesn't rush and just takes his time because it seems like the story is fast-paced. And Oda is too focused on Emu this final saga. You can tell we are in the end game now. I won't say that he's too focused, that Oda is too focused on Emu. It's just that we're getting stuff explained. Normally, it would have taken us several months for us to get something explained about one singular person. But now we're getting it at a faster pace. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Because how long have we seen poorly paced sections of this story? I cut back to the Raizo versus Fukuro Kuju fight in Wano, where that was horribly paced. As much as I love this story, that was the worst paced fight I have ever seen in One Piece at all. Because anytime we would catch up to them, it would just be them standing there. They would literally take up panels of them just standing there, and then we would just cut to someone else. And then we would see it again many chapters ahead, and then we would see it again many chapters ahead, until Raizo outlasted Fukuro Kuju in being burnt up, and the fight was over. And I tell you, it was the biggest sigh of relief from me to never have to worry about seeing that fight ever again, because it was the longest drawn out fight where literally nothing of value happened. So I'm glad that Oda is actually putting stuff out there. That's my take on it. I don't feel like he's rushing things. I feel like he's ready to reveal stuff. Maybe there's a hint of eagerness to it, revealing so much within a singular chapter. But at the same time, I don't think he's rushing, though. He's just ready. That's the thing. He's ready to show us what the rest of this story is. It's one thing to be all like, well, I haven't figured out the ending of it, so I'm just going to kind of drag things out until I formulate it. No, that's the reason why he took 6 months off. Everything we're getting right now is because he took those 6 months to finalize the saga. He's done. Now he's just giving us everything. That's how I see it. Those 6 months weren't just for him to rest. Those 6 months for him to prepare us for what we're getting now. All this stuff we're getting revealed is because Oda said, yep, I'm going to take these 6 months so that way I could just give you the story just outright, and we could just go flow from one spot to the next continuously. That's how I feel. Let me see. So does that mean that John Giant's real name is John D. Giant? We don't know to what specifics Elbaf is D. We don't know if it's the place itself. We don't know if it's the lineage of the giants, because we don't know if we don't see any giants that carry D in their name currently on Elbaf other than Saul. That's it. So we don't know if D is something that is, passed down into other people, as we tend to see with regular human people that exist within the universe itself. But that's curious, though, that Elbaf is D. Not saying that the giants are D, but the nation itself is D, which is the first time we have ever heard the D be referred to in this instance. An entire nation is regarded as D? Not in singular individuals. Because Imu and everyone else in the world government knows of people who carry D in their name. They're wary of them all the time. But this is the first time we've ever had an entire nation referred to as D. An entire country referred to as D. So I'm curious about that. Yeah, Saul's not even native to Elbaf. If that scalation is frozen, then it can't revive, right? If it's frozen, it can't do anything. We don't even know to what extent and how sure this frozen Nibelheim move from Loki. Mind you, this puts... Ooh, I just had a thought. What if a lot of Loki's moves are based off of the different realms of Yggdrasil? Jotunheim, Nibelheim, Svartalfheim. Helheim. What if he has moves that are based off of the different realms of Norse mythology? Because Nibelheim... Because Niflheim is the mist. Is the mist. I'm just going off of the places I visited in Thor Ragnarok, in God of War Ragnarok. But Nibelheim, that's the land of the dead. Helheim is basically the land of the fire giants and Surtur. So what if he has moves that are based off of the different realms of Norse mythology, and they have specific properties because of the world those names are based off of? I'm just making a very wild claim here, but him freezing this giant sleep solid with a move called Nibelheim, where the land of the dead is a frozen tundra. I'm just thinking. But also, what if it's an aspect of Ragnir and not specifically Loki? Because he specifically says, all right, then show off your power, Ragnir. Which makes me wonder, is this a hammer that is imbued with the squirrel fruit model Ratatosker? I said this the last time we had a chapter. What if Ragnir is indeed using a mythical squirrel fruit that basically allows it to be Ratatosker and have access to the 9 realms and imbue itself with different properties? I'm just saying, it's not Loki. It's not Loki. It's the hammer. The hammer has basically the powers of the 9 realms. Because it can call down lightning in one instance, and now we're seeing it basically freeze an opponent solid. This is a multi-elemental weapon. This isn't like Kaido where he has to use his devil fruit in order to use some abilities like create whirlwinds, call down lightning, send out invisible air slashes that can cut off a human arm like Kiku. No, this is a hammer that basically has all the elements inside of it. Wouldn't that be crazy? I'm just saying. Helheim is Land of the Dead. Sorry, I got that wrong. Nibelheim is the frozen place. My bad. I completely forgot. It shows you just how little I retained from Ragnarok after all these years, because I haven't picked that game up in a while. But yeah, Nibelheim is the frozen place. Oh, sorry. Helheim is in the Land of the Fire Giants, inserter. Muspelheim. I'm sorry, it's Muspelheim. Please forgive me, all Norse mythology enthusiasts out there, for basically butchering the misplacement of these names. Muspelheim is the Land of the Fire Giants, inserter. My bad. I think about God of War, Ragnarok all the time. Every time I hear those names, that would be a broken devil fruit. It would be. Elemental attacks, let's go, 9 and 1. Loki is basically a shapeshifter, and then he has the hammer like Thor. It's crazy, he's gonna be powerful. And he has conquerors as well. This was a good chapter, but there are many things we need to go over, and we will discuss them. Time for a summary! Let's see, I was about to type in summary, One Piece. That's what I'm doing. Still got another chapter, Sakamoto Days after this. No anime episode, so I get to chill and rest after that. But 171. It's time to use my professional voice. Summary. Chapter 1171. After Harold is killed, Gabin says he feared what would happen if Harold actually made it past the castle with the power of the Depths Covenant. But even with the way his wounds healed after he took damage, he couldn't believe something like the power of Elbaf's legendary devil fruit could stop him permanently. Gabin asked Jarl if he knew the fruit had that kind of power, and the Elder Giant confesses he didn't, but he does fear what would have happened if Loki had not been there. Shanks thinks to when Harold told him how excited he was at becoming a Knight of God if it meant having Elbaf join the world government. And then he remembers Garling telling him to forget the lower world and not consider them people, which enrages him to the point he tightly grips his left arm. Gabin stops him and tells him not to regret his birth like he had done before, but Shanks explains that if he had warned Harold about the Covenant soon enough, he wouldn't have had to die. Gabin tells Shanks that none of this is his fault, and he believes that every life has value, but he needs to stay calm in order to find it. As for Loki, he continued to mourn over his father's corpse, while calling what happened a cruel joke. In Marijwa, Emu suffers backlash from Harold's death, and is in disbelief that an ancient giant empowered by them was actually killed. If you kill someone who has a covenant with Emu, Emu suffers recoil. The perks? You gain a soldier who's immortal and has an exponentially more powerful body. The cons is if that immortal warrior somehow dies, you suffer backlash We don't know to what extent and what it actually does to Emu because we have yet to see Emu's actual body. But Emu suffers damage, possibly internally, if someone immortal that they've turned dies. And mind you, it's not the same as Emu taking the immortality from someone, because Emu clearly wasn't worried or suffered any backlash from ripping the immortality away from Saturn. It's if someone who's already immortal is killed outside of Emu, that's how Emu suffers. We have learned that Emu's seemingly impenetrable armor has a bit of a weak spot. Oh! But continuing, Imarijwa, Emu suffers backlash from Harold's death and is in disbelief that an ancient giant empowered by them was actually killed. Meeting with the five elders, Mars suggested that they investigate the abyss Harold created, but Emu refused, saying it will only result in the death of more knights, while also revealing that bestowing covenants takes its toll on them. Emu considered Harold an aberration among the giants of Elbaf, as he chose to serve them to help his people, even though said people have a history of being warriors. As such, Emu declares that Elbaf will never join the world government, as doing so will only lead to its own destruction, and that Harold was a king Elbaf should have never had for the fact that he willingly agreed to their covenant. Emu says that in the end, history has already dictated that both sides are incompatible, because Elbaf is the D. Back in the throne room, Loki meets with Gabin, Shanks, Jarl, and whoever else survived as Jarl tells Loki that news of Harold's death will cause unrest. Loki tells him he will go out to sea with the surviving guards to avenge Harold, but Jarl reminds Loki of Harold's last wishes. Loki tells Jarl that he can't tell the people the truth and demands that nobody here alive does. And nobody here alive does. Here should be H-E-R-E. It's H-E-A-R on this summary. They may need to fix that. Jarl warns Loki that the people will naturally blame him for this because of his reputation. But Loki says he's used to it and that he doesn't see himself as the type of person who can carry on Harold's ideals. But that doesn't mean he can't help in his own way. As Loki and the guards start leaving, Jarl advises Loki against attacking the world government head-on because of how huge it is, and ultimately, they had to stop him while painting him as the killer. In the present! Finally done with the flashback. Not that I was trying to rush it, but I'm just glad we get back to the present. In the present, Loki tells Harudin that by the time he returned home, all of Elbaf was blaming Loki for killing Harold, but he personally would never brag about it. He just wanted to preserve everything Harold fought for, unless he felt he should have told everyone the truth. His story finished and backed up by Gabin, Harudin says he finally understands why Jarl kept trying to protect him despite the country's wishes for his execution, and he believes that Harold would have accepted death over being manipulated by the world government, though he still doesn't know how they did it. Gabin adds that the new knights played a role in Harold's story, but Loki still doesn't know the full details. Unlike Gabin, he doesn't know the full details, unlike Gabin. Gabin offers to fill Harudin in, but he declines for now, as he needs no reason to protect his homeland. Harudin personally undoes Loki's cuffs. I thought it was going to be undoes, but personally undoes. I think it's undoes. Personally undoes. Someone correct me. I want to make sure I'm using this word correctly. Harudin personally undoes Loki's cuffs. I'm going to say undoes, and acknowledges that they both loved Harold, apologizing for not realizing that sooner and asking Loki to help him fight for their homeland. Suddenly, one of Killingham's MMAs, Sleeptids if we're going by the Viz manga, resembling a Draugr, falls from the sun world down to the underworld. Loki considers it the perfect warm-up and tells his half-brother to go on ahead because he can fly up later. He can fly up later. Harudin gets on board with his crew, and all 5 of them apologize to Loki for thinking he killed Harold in cold blood. Though Harudin states that he hasn't forgiven him for all of the other crimes he has committed, but Loki just tells him to get going. Gabin tells Chopper that he is grateful for helping him, but he is worried about Colin, and Chopper agrees to accompany him back up with help from Sanji. Luffy, meanwhile, decides to hitch a ride on Loki's shoulder so he can see how he fights, which Loki accepts. Jumping high into the air, Loki calls to Ragnir, and with a swing of it, he completely freezes the MMA, which leaves Luffy speechless. And they currently don't have any chapter notes, so there's not too much else I can say as far as, like, everything else that I've already read. You're right, it's undoes? Okay, thank you. I want to make sure that my, grammar was good for all of you. Let's see, it looks like you skipped a few comments. I did. Who did I miss? Let me see. Helheim is land of the dead, named after Hela, daughter of Loki. Let me see. I just remembered that army of giants is frozen and Punk Hazard wasn't a winter island. Could it be because of Ragnir? I thought, wasn't it stated that the reason why Punk Hazard was a frozen tundra was because of the fight between Kuzan and Akainu? One side is basically turned into a frozen tundra, while the other side is basically a burning hellscape. Now, my thing is, the giants being frozen isn't a result of Kuzan, but because they were frozen earlier. But from my understanding, I thought it was frozen. I thought pretty much one half of Punk Hazard was because of the fight between Kuzan and Akainu. And the result of their 10-day fight basically turned Punk Hazard into that. I didn't think it was basically because of Ragnir that did that. That would pose way more questions than I have answers for. Let me see. My guess is Emu hands out power to God Knights. If that God Knight dies, the power loss is forever, but also seems to inflict harm upon Emu as well. So does Emu suffer any recoil from Domi Reversi? Forced contract, still contract nonetheless? I don't think that's how that works. Because Domi Reversied isn't the same as making a covenant. It's not the same. You're turning someone into a demon, but you're not gifting them a covenant like he did to Dorian Bragi. So I don't think it works that way. I think it specifically has to be a covenant. Being turned into a demon doesn't exactly give the same effect, because Rox died and he was beaten, but Emu didn't suffer any effects from that. Interesting. Emu seems like he didn't come from the Void Century, because if they were, why did they recite history instead of recall? That's a good question. But my thing is, it's a long-standing theory that Emu does come from the era, exactly when Zebix died, it didn't affect Emu. No, Ragnir only froze those giants way back, not half the island. True, that could be what happened, maybe, but we don't know the specifics of Ragnir. There's so many loose ends that need to be tied up, like where did Ragnir come from? How did the giants get their hands on it? Was Ragnir a hammer that traveled with the ancient giants of Galila? There's so many questions that makes one think. And that's in my head right now as well, because we don't know where Ragnir came from. We don't know the full scope of Ragnir's capabilities. Because if Ragnir is capable of calling down lightning, and also imbuing itself with ice to freeze an opponent solid with one hit immediately, who knows what else Ragnir can do? I have so many questions. But Elbaf is D. Loki being capable of flight. Just casually saying, like, don't, you go on ahead, I can fly up later. What? So, here's what I'm going to look up. I'm going to look up the Veldir. The Vederfoner. No, I'm not looking up. I gotta spell this right. Because it's trying to pull up something about Genshin Impact, and I don't care about that. Do you think Loki will join the Straw Hat crew? I don't know how he's gonna fit on the Sunny. Hold on, let me scroll back up to who said that? Who said that? Was that you, subject? I think it was you, subject, that said something about Velderfolner. Velder Folnir. Yeah, I spelt it right. Stop defaulting. Ah, here it is. Here it is. Yeah. In Norse mythology, Velderfolnir is a hawk that sits between the eyes of a wise, unnamed eagle at the top of the world tree Yggdrasil. The eagle creates the winds with its wings, while Velderfolnir observes the realms. Yep, he's Velderfolnir, because listen to this! The eagle creates the wind with its wings, while Velderfolnir observes the realms, and the squirrel, Ratatosker, carries insults between them and the dragon Nidhogir at the roots, creating a constant cycle of conflict. Ragnir is Ratatosker. I'm telling you, it's Ratatosker. Because if Loki is Velderfolnir, model Velderfolnir, then that means Ragnir is Ratatosker, because there's a link between the two. It's a link between the two. Unnamed, knowledgeable eagle perched on Yggdrasil. Its wing beats create the winds and storms. Sometimes called Hrasfelger, corpse eater in some texts, though this name is often applied to the eagle itself and not the hawk. Then we have Velderfolnir, which is a hawk or falcon that sits between the eagle's eyes, name meaning storm pale, wind bleached, or wind witherer. Role, flies out to survey the realms and brings back knowledge possibly associated with the eagle's wisdom. Connection, both reside at the very top of Yggdrasil, the World Tree. They are in a state of perpetual conflict with Nidhogg, the dragon gnawing at the roots of the tree, with the messenger being the squirrel Ratatosker that runs up and down the tree, carrying hateful messages between the eagle and Nidhogg. Look at its picture in Wikipedia, similar to Loki's beast form. Here's the thing though, we didn't actually get like a full scope view of Loki's beast form. All we got was just like the bottom part of Loki's body, and knowing that it's capable of clawing at Harold. So we don't, what is the spelling again? Let me put it up here. Veldir Folnir. But it's like a D that's also an L, so it looks like this. It looks like this, but the F isn't capital. Hold on, give me a sec. Family's got food. Let me go deal with that. I'll bring it up and then I'll come right back, and then we'll finish with this. I'll eat some food and then we'll do Sakamoto days. Hold tight, everybody. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. What is spelling again? And it was in silhouette. Yeah. Also, Ratatoskr being a messenger seems like it carries some message from the past. It is entirely possible because we don't even know how old Ragnir actually is. Because here's a thought: if an inanimate object gains the capabilities of a Zoan devil fruit, since inanimate objects don't exactly age like humans, how long has Ragnir been around? We skipped the Loki Lola love story. Who knows? Maybe that'll be talked about sometime later. Maybe if Nami brings it up. Inquiring minds want to know. Of course. Awesome fan with the food. Yes, I'm eating like this rice bowl with spicy meatballs in it. Pretty sure they didn't meet. Who knows? But there's a lot of things I knew for a fact that this stream was probably going to be like almost an hour long. Loki only talked to Big Mom. I think so. I think so. I think it was like the thing is, I think it was like an arranged marriage, but they didn't. Hold on. Sorry, I kept stepping away. I'm gonna eat my food after this. But let's see how long Loki was on sea, was out to sea. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know the specifics of Shanks being involved with Loki. We don't know how long he was out to sea. We don't know what all he did out there. Just that we know he caused trouble. Apparently, watch that Loki Lola stuff be told in an SBS. I would not even be remotely surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Let's see, he met Lola, otherwise he wouldn't have turned down Chiffon because he knew the difference between the two. Yeah, he did. So they have met each other. It's just that it didn't pan out. 13 years since Harold died and he set sail, Shanks brought him back and became Emperor 6 years ago, so he's on the sea for like 7 years. The specifics of which I would like to learn in the future. But to save on the fact that I could just drone on about, the same stuff we've already discussed, I just want to say that this was a peak chapter. One, because we found out that Emu is not as infallible as we thought they were. Two, we find out that Loki is far more capable with his devil fruit power than we thought because apparently he has the ability to fly. Not only that, we are done with the flashback that we started with Harold, then continued through this was pretty much audio's not synced. It sounds synced to me. Yeah, it sounds synced up to me. Yeah, it is now? Okay, that was odd then. But we learned so much from this chapter. For us to go on break again. But we learned so much. Uh, and I'm just excited to what February is going to bring for One Piece, because we won't get another chapter until February. We only got 2 chapters of One Piece in January, and they were all really good. Now the only thing that haven't shown any weakness is the Nika fruit. Yeah, when you kind of think about it, it's the only fruit thus far that hasn't really shown a weakness to it. Because the only weakness that we see with Luffy is that he can only spend so much time with the fruit before he gets incredibly haggard and tired. Which makes me wonder if Joy Boy himself went to war with those 20 kingdoms, like that entire with the entire kingdoms, how long did he stay in that form? Like, is this a fruit that truly doesn't have any weaknesses? Like drawbacks from overusing it? It was out of sync a little, but it solved with a refresh. Cool. Can't believe I'm worried for the villain here. Yeah, it's interesting. I want to find out more about Emu and who they are. I'm not worried about them because they looked at Lelouch and said, like, let's test this weapon of mass destruction on this kingdom because it's simply closer to where we are. I want to kill Luffy and Blackbeard, but I want Vivi. There's so many things about Emu that we truly do not know, yet I can't wait to find out what they truly look like, what powers they have. I have so many questions. The fact that we are getting so much, and I said this before a while back, I think it was like last year, we started One Piece with a dude in a barrel wishing to become king of the pirates. This is how we started One Piece. We started One Piece with a teenager saying, I want to become king of the pirates, and he had a stretchy body, and we started with him being in a barrel. Now we are so far into One Piece's world, which was way bigger than we could have ever hoped. We've entered into the realm of literal eldritch creatures. People being turned into demons. Individuals who are capable of using the power of literal imagination to achieve any state that they want, with unlimited strength, unlimited power that cannot be stopped. People who are immortal, who can instantly regenerate. People who have lived for centuries because of that. We have entered into the world of like, oh, this is an interesting shonen manga, to we have now entered into Game of Thrones Season 5 levels of goodness. Because getting closer to Season 8 is where things became trash. Where One Piece is at right now is literally Game of Thrones Season 5, which I consider the peak of that entire show. But where we are at in One Piece, if any of you could think of talking to your younger selves when you first started One Piece, could you have ever hoped that we have entered into the age of gods and monsters in One Piece? And for over 20 years, we thought his powers were a paramecia, only to find out it was the side effect of him being a mythical Zoan god. Luffy, I was about to say Loki. Luffy is a actual god, the sun god. For 2 decades, Oda had us thinking that his powers were the result of a paramecia. Only to find out he was actually a Zoan this entire time. A mythical Zoan. Now Game of Thrones new shows first episode is today. Nobody even knows that. What was it? What is it? Knights of Game of Thrones? I actually forget its name. That's how much I have not paid attention to it. I thought Luffy's powers were meh. Like in the beginning, the ability to stretch your body to do all sorts of different things. You don't understand the you thought Luffy's powers were meh in the beginning. Little did we know, Oda was cooking what he wanted to do with Luffy for a long time, and just had us thinking like he's just a rubber boy. Had us looking at Luffy the way his villain, Knights of the Seven Kingdoms. Thank you. The way Oda wrote his main character, for even some of us to consider his powers ridiculous, just like the villains do, only for us to find out that Luffy's powers weren't even close to reaching their full pinnacle. Not even Gear 4, which was capable of just trivializing Doflamingo and so many other people. We all thought that was like, is that the max he can do? This is already strong, only to find out that his Gear 5, his awakened state, literally turns him into a Looney Tune with unlimited power. Now, mind you, he's not reality warping to an extent, but he is literally unstoppable in that state. Who would have thought that we would end up in the realm of immortal people? Powers that transcend reality? Who knew that we would be here at One Piece? I'm happy. I smell my food. That food smelled good. But overall, really good chapter. Really, really good chapter. But it also has me curious about how things are going to go now that Loki is free and he's fighting. They were just short stories, right? How they're making shows out of it. Game of Thrones? I think so. I don't know. I haven't been following it. I dropped off of Game of Thrones after the last season, and literally nothing else has interested me in the realm of those shows anymore. House of Dragon, I don't care about. And Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, I don't care about that either. They were just short stories, right? Now they're making shows out of it. Yeah. He had us thinking, now, how is he going to defeat Kaido? And then we found out how. Oh boy, did we find out how. And now we have Luffy, who has this boundless power in his hands. You literally gave the most boundless imaginative power to a person who is constantly imagining how to defeat his foes. You literally, the world government trying to get their hands on the fruit, in their eyes, it couldn't have ended up in the hands of a worse person. Because Luffy is always thinking about, how am I going to beat this person? And he learns on the fly, which means that he could come up with any number of things to defeat his opponent. Even if they're ridiculous. You can't imagine a more dangerous person than a person who you can't imagine a person to gain access to the most ridiculous power in the world than a person who already thinks ridiculously. Who is constantly thinking ridiculous things. There couldn't be a more what is the word? A more perfect person. The word isn't perfect, but it's something else. A more compatible person with this devil fruit than someone as ridiculous thinking as Luffy. So now all I'm saying is, this may be the last chapter we get in January. I cannot wait to see what February holds. I thought January was going to be like, maybe it's going to be like a downplayed type month, just a little bit. Oh, we see that Harold dies. Okay. And then today, Loki is free. Imu's talking about losing a person connected to a covenant takes a toll on them. Finding out all sorts of different things. And then seeing Loki. I was thinking Luffy. Mouth said Loki. Loki just basically freezing a sleep tid instantly with Nibelheim. More questions that I hope get answered in February. But we'll see. I've carried on for far too long. It's already been in like an hour and 11 minutes. So sorry for me stepping away and all that. But before I get started with Sakamoto Days, I'm going to eat my food first. It's hot. It's here. I'm going to eat. Then I'll do Sakamoto Days. If you guys want to stop by and check out my reaction to that, you're more than welcome to. If not, hey, I'm glad you guys decided to stop by here. You could have been anywhere. You could have stayed over at Rogers Bases. You could have go to Brago. You could have gone to King Recon. Anyone. You could have gone to anyone, but you decided to be here. And I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate it. Onwards and upwards to 100K. And I have all of you to thank as we continue to move in that direction. With that being said, time to eat. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Even consider checking out my Patreon because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. And because I know you're coming back anyway. Have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples. Time to eat! Then Sakamoto Days.